It's the season finale of Season 11. It's been several months since we kicked off our campaign, and we end at a 2-mile circuit in Fontana, California. Welcome back for the final coverage of the year here in the Velocity Online Racing League IR-18 series. The Auto Club Speedway is our host for tonight's event, and this is the Alzheimer's Association 500 kilometer. We welcome you back live on FTN for an exciting event indeed. 156 laps are going to take place tonight, and as it stands, 14 drivers have registered for tonight's event, and it's great to have you back once more. My name is David Kreutz, and I'll be hosting alongside Gary Godso for all of tonight's coverage. And Gary, we've seen this entire season play out from start to finish, watching as drivers have made their moves. The championship battle has all but come to a close, and tonight, for most drivers, the priority is fighting for the win. We've got some rookies to keep our eyes on, and among others, some of the veterans have come back, but it's a much different field from what we've seen in the majority of the season with the special cause in mind. So before we get a little bit more information about the Alzheimer's Association, Gary, how are you feeling going out to the track one last time? And as it stands, Gary, final opportunity here. So before we get into the grid, any thoughts before we're heading into the race? A lot of these drivers coming in for their first opportunity. Gary Lovert on the pole, and it looks like he gets there at the top of the charts with a 32.627 neck and neck with Matthias Strauss. Then going to be Mark Murphy in third and Nate Field fourth. John Christensen going to be fifth place and sixth spot. Then going to go to the driver in the number 84, Sheridan Wade, another rookie. Additionally, going to see Julian Altena in seventh and eighth place is going to go then to Farid Riza and Yaroslav Donskoy is ninth, with Matthew Weeks, the SNT champion on FTN, making his first open wheel race. A very interesting crossover. The number 80 joins the field today. And additionally, you're going to see your final drivers in this starting grid. It's going to be the 11th spot going to Cody Meadows, then Pedro Blabel in 12th, Dan Ench 13th, and 14th is Gavin Smith. Just like that, field for tonight's race, 14 drivers, and the starting grid is all lined up. Now, Dan Ench is going to be on the track, so we'll try to get him in for the first caution, but Ench, the sponsor for tonight's race, is the reason the Alzheimer's Association has joined us here in the Velocity Online Racing League, and the official link to donate is in our chat room tonight. It's going to be Gary Lovern for the first time this season, leading the field to green. There was a checkup, but we're on our way in Fontana to close out Season 11. Welcome to the Auto Club Speedway. And right now, looking for that Penske car, we're looking at Riza, and it looks like that might just be the driver, yes indeed, of that 00, looking high. A lot of new drivers here. Riza's going to be in the Vodafone car, it appears, and then from there, got John Christensen in the Team 4 equipment, and Julian as well, so drivers we're now looking at for the very first time. Matthew Weeks coming aboard. Back half of the field, some drivers we have yet to see. And Dan Ench, your race sponsor, going to be further on back in the number 52. All 14 drivers get on the way now. Well, it looks like everyone's going to get away regardless of the initial troubles. We saw how close it was between those drivers and wondered if we were going to see a yellow flag, but luckily nothing will come of it. So, we're on the move for the first time tonight, and it's going to be Mark Murphy at the front of the field here, Gary, and it's going to be Matthias Strauss second. Third place is going to be a rookie, and how about that for the driver, the number 84 in Sharon Wade? Top three right now going to be separate by just about 2/10, and it's getting exciting so far as drivers are coming through 2 by 2. Leader and Murphy, though, now looking to get a little more antsy as it's single file for the leader, then everyone else trying to get 2 by 2. It's a dive down to the bottom side. Looks like now Strauss trying to get that top spot back.
Yeah, very simple here. Stay in the draft. You're in contention.
That's going to be the mentality these drivers are approaching this race with. Everyone right now tucking up in that pack, 4 laps in out of 156. Nobody playing any crazy games right now, knowing how much time is on the table. So expecting to see that same mentality as the rest of this race goes on. Everyone going to be tightened up to one another. And the 84, Sheridan Wade, is the race leader. And now Wade and Fields, the 1 and 2 combo, find themselves real tight to one another. And everyone going to stay in that draft knowing how much time is left on. 5 laps out of 156. Don't panic right now. There's still a ways to go.
There is no fuel restrictions on the IR-18s here, so it's 100% fuel. There are tire limits. They have 6 sets, 5 in the pits, 1 that you're starting with on the car. So I would expect the pit window to be right around 30, 35, somewhere in there. Not too much different than what you do in Indianapolis. Might actually be a little bit less because these guys are so much at open throttle that they're using much more fuel. The guys in the back are going to be obviously conserving. The guys up front, they might want to. They might feel like they want to lead. They feel the need to lead, but they're just going to be burning more fuel than everyone else. And kind of looking these names up at the front, at least Fields and Wade and Meadows. I'm not sure what their experience is with these cars. But that they're not. If you look at the more seasoned guys, so Murphy, Lovern, Christensen, Bybel, even Julian, Dan Inch, they've all gone to the back. So that tells me that we kind of have the stallions that are like a fast car, but really don't know how to do a lot of fuel saving, possibly. And then we got the more seasoned veterans in the back that know how to do and know how these long races on these big ovals happen and work, and they know it works by. As soon as you get to lap 1, you start saving fuel.
Right now, how about Matthew Weeks, an oval driver coming over on the open wheel scene, running that low-power Verizon machine. So, Gary, you might not be too accustomed to Matthew, but we talked last night about a lot of oval ringers coming over during this Indy week, and more the same. Matthew Weeks was electric in the Saturday Night Thunder Championship. He was not the favorite through the regular season, but he got on his way as soon as the playoffs began, won 3 of the 5 races in that stint of the season, and it came down to a green-white checkered shootout. And a little bit of a wiggle there further on back, and it looks like everyone keeps it straight. There's Pedro on the 88, and back to Weeks a little bit more. He got that championship on a green-white checkered finish, 3 wide between he and championship rival Jordan Kuntz, and came home with his first title in 3 seasons of trying. So Weeks is coming off a stock car high and running pretty good right now. He's successful at these big tracks. I think Auto Club in Michigan are his best 2 tracks on the platform, no matter what type of car it is. He's always quick here, and that's why he's pretty comfortable so far running up in front.
Yeah, he actually has a win here in VOR in a lower series. He has a win in the VOR IR-05 series, driving for TI Racing. He got that, I forget what track he got that at, but he came through in that series to get a win. I think it was Texas. And then recently, as early as this week, Thursday, he was in the Elite Racing League's Warriors for Peace Indycar Series at Texas, where he brought, and I was giving him a hard time on his chassis choice. He picked the Red Bull Rainbow chassis. And I was like, come on, man, we got to get you an IndyCar chassis. So he properly got an IndyCar chassis or an IndyCar livery for this particular race. But he drove, again, from the back to the front and was in contention for a good portion of that race until he got side-checked. It was about just past the 3/4 mark and had to end up ending the race a little bit early with damage, but showed very impressive.
Being very impressive right now in third. All the while, we got 3 of the rookies this season leading. Nate Fields, the Indiana native, going to be down to the bottom side. Gavin Smith right up top, and Gavin, a Michigan native, so maybe some experience with that circuit, which is oh so similar. And they're 3 wide for the race lead right now. Taking a look. Strauss gets back up into the mix, and Matthias here now going to find himself up to the top side. We're keeping our driver identifier on right now because the majority of the field looks to be rookies and first-timers in this season, but our veterans like Lovern, Strauss, Donskoy, and Ench are still in the field, and Julian and Blabel going to be further back as well. John Christensen, it's about a half-and-half split, and it's going to make for some exciting racing, but so far, your new drivers of old, they both held on quite nicely, as now Nate Fields going to lead him down the straight.
So Gav, I believe he's racing for the Scours team. So that's another one of the larger IndyCar teams. Gav getting loose there off corner four. He has raced here in VOR before, but it was a while ago, and he was a bit of a lethal weapon on the racetrack. Now, hopefully, racing with Scours, he has worked. Oh, he's loose. He's loose. He's very loose. He's loose again. He's out to the inside of the turn 4. So I was kind of hoping that his racecraft has kind of stepped up, but you can't. Racecraft has nothing to do it when you have a very loose car. Actually, racecraft actually has a little bit to do because he did a real good job of keeping that car under control, but he was not handling very well at all. But he is an older competitor here in VOR, but back in the day, he was kind of a bit of a loose cannon. Now, hopefully, driving for that Scours team, he's got some more seat time under himself and has helped the racecraft. And obviously, you see there driving a loose car, bringing it back to the back of the rear, so not wrecking anybody, and trying to reset.
And you can see now Gavin Smith going to be behind Dan Ench, the 52, our sponsor for the day. So we want to kick this broadcast off by talking just a little bit more regarding the Alzheimer's Association and Dan Ench putting on this event in cooperation with the entirety of VOR. This race in honor of his mother, Jerry Jane Ench, and his name, of course, Dan Ench, going to be replaced for tonight's event, and her mother on this car. We're going to take a look on board with the number 52, and you'll see right now, you can see the Alzheimer's.org stickers, and if we keep some close-ups, you'll see the tribute right now on the side of the number 52. So Dan Ench, special paint scheme for today's event. In the late stages of Alzheimer's, and Ench deciding to put it on in association with the Alzheimer's Association, raising awareness. Alzheimer's is included 5 of the 12 diagnosed kinds of dementia and one of its own. Alzheimer's.org or ALZ.org at the top of your screen tonight has information for valuable information, every type of dimension. So keep that in mind. Racing for ALZ.org for 6 years now. Ench, a sim racing veteran, and he's been driving for the cause for more than half a decade. Nearly 7 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's and associated forms of dementia in the U.S. alone. Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the U.S. and the 5th leading cause of death among Americans aged 65 and older. We're going to talk to Ench as the race goes on to find a little bit more information on how you can support the cause, but for starters, visit ALZ.org. It's at the top of your screen all broadcast long. This is the Alzheimer's Association 500 kilometer, and we'd like to thank Dan Ench once again for his contribution, Gary. Dan has been with this group for quite a while here. We've seen him for several years, as a matter of fact. And could you tell us a little bit more about what you know regarding Dan before we, of course, get a word from him?
I just know him as being a longtime member of the community. I've seen him race in Dark Horse. I've seen him race here in VOR, various other leagues. Good guy. Keeps his car out of trouble. He's a good person to race with. Might not always have the pace. Oh, Weeks and Fields contact through 4. That was a little uncalled for there. I'm not sure exactly what happened. But in terms of a racer and a person, Dan's a good racer, good person, and it is a benefit to have him here in the VOR series right along with the rest of these guys.
And unfortunately right now, Dan lying back. Well, we say unfortunately, but you really don't know because this is a very big circuit, and that could be strategy related. Nobody's 100%. Really fallen off of the pack right now. It looks like Raid Rizza is still with them in 14th, so I wouldn't be so quick to say it's trouble necessarily. It's more about that fuel saving. side by side again at the stripe. That's going to be Nate Fields and Sheridan Wade, top 2 still. Weeks remains 3rd. Corey Meadows right now going to be with Matthias Strauss, and Meadows going to drop down to the inside in the 46. And see the wear and tear on that pavement when Meadows goes up and down. He's bobbling all over. And at the speeds he's going, that's not the easiest thing to do. Take a look at telemetry right now. 214 out of 4. And he's going to get it up to about 220 miles an hour coming down the straight. Full throttle, putting it up into the 6th gear. And brand new overlays here, which are going to be brought over for Season 12 on Race First. So a little bit of a trial for what you're going to see a lot more of here in the VOR series. Stay tuned, it's a lot coming, and now you got that information about the drivers at the bottom of the screen. You can see Meadows, it's not easy. He's one of the drivers I've seen bobbling a lot, though, because he's trying to go everywhere for an advantage.
Yeah, very rough service here. I think they never repaved this place until they opened it, and then they tore it down. I think it was the same pavement the entire time. And you can't even really blame it on harsh California winters. There's a caution. There's a caution going to happen off of 2. That was
Nate Fields.
Yeah, Fields getting low off of corner 4, maybe a little too much weight jacker there, and that what happens if you keep a low entry off of 4 and just trying to keep the low side, especially if you have a lot more weight jacker rolling that thing than you are used to. The back end will come around there as the banking kind of rolls off and you get onto the flat portion of the racetrack. And luckily, he did not hit anything, but surely gave a lot around him a Code Brown moment.
Fields does collect the wall just a bit. Maybe minor damage, if anything. It looks like his Firestone tire has gone away from major trouble, but Nate Fields, that was close. Everyone should be fine, and we're under yellow for the first time tonight. So that gives us an opportunity here. Sheridan Wade is your race leader, and we're going to talk to number 52, Dan Ench. Let's get Dan in as we speak. The driver, the number 52, working with us here, 13th place. Let's get Dan in the broadcast booth. Give us just a moment as we're going to talk a little bit more about the Alzheimer's Association here on FTN. And for the viewers just tuning in, you're watching the Alzheimer's Association 500 kilometer, and Dan Ench is joining us inside the broadcasting booth. Dan, we thank you first off for your cooperation and support in bringing this race to us today. This is the Alzheimer's Association 500 kilometer, and we want to talk to you a little bit more about what this race means for the entire community and yourself. It's a special paint scheme the number 52 is today. And Dan Ench trying to get a copy here. Does not look like he's with us. So it looks like we're going to bring him in to the broadcast booth one more time. Ench, the number 52, trying to get a call here. He's coming down to pit road. So give it just a moment and we're going to figure exactly what's going on. Coming into pit road right now, Gary. Most of the field does. Keep us updated as we're going to get Dan in with us momentarily.
Gotcha.
There we have it, Dan Ench with us right now. And Dan, we thank you for being here. Took us just a moment to get you in, but the first caution of the day, we've only gotten things started, and right now you're running solidly. How are you feeling about tonight's event, the Alzheimer's Association 500K?
Well, as you know, it means a lot to me. I've been dealing with Alzheimer's in my family for quite a while now, and I've taken up the flag, so to speak, to try to get the word out for Alzheimer's Association, or ALS.org. That's how you get a hold of them on the internet, ALS.org. But I'm basically trying to spread the word. Alzheimer's is a serious disease. And in fact, in the last 20 years, even during the COVID years, it's been the number 7 killer in the United States, even worse than alcoholism and heart attack and everything else. So, you know, I'm trying to get some publicity for it, trying to get people to understand they can get help if they're a caregiver. They can donate if they want to help fund research to try to conquer this insidious disease. And that's what I'm doing here.
Dan, we mentioned the statistics you were talking to us about here in the broadcast booth before we got things going. Nearly 7 million Americans living with dementia and associated forms such as Alzheimer's. It's one of these diseases that has ravaged our population in the United States and worldwide. And you mentioned the resource of ALS.org, and we've got it up on the overlays for the broadcast tonight, so any viewer can check out what's possible with regards to resources. you have any particular recommendations as to how viewers can perhaps support the cause here?
Well, there's a big fat donate button right there on the main page of als.org, and you're certainly welcome to use that anytime you want to and anytime you feel you can. Most of what als.org does, though, is basically geared for the caregiver. It is so hard to be a caregiver, and I can tell you that from 5 years of trying to take care of my mother on my own, and that is not an easy thing. In fact, a lot of caregivers, physically, mentally, it is just very, very tough, and you can get help. You don't have to go through it by yourself, and that's the most important thing I could probably get out there.
That being said, Dan, speaking to you right now, we mentioned your sim racing career. Well, 6 years running under this banner, so more than half a decade on the iRacing platform, supporting the cause, and sim racing community is growing larger and larger every year. So the opportunity to spread the word in the same way, it continues to grow. You think sim racing here serves as a valuable tool to spread the message in regards to Alzheimer's as it looks like we're coming close to getting back at it?
Yeah, that is the most important tool. Just go to als.org. Got to go racing.
Thank you, Dan, once again for your time.
Green flag in the air. Julian stayed out. Wade had a great pit stop, moving him up to second after having that incident off of 2. Strauss, Weeks, Meadows, Murphy, the remainder of the top 6 there. Lovern, Smith, Pedro, and Donskoy is rounding out the top 10. So not much change, but Julian stayed out. So Julian's going to go long right now on this stint. Not sure what his strategy is at this point, but he is the off strategy from everyone else at the moment.
Julian trying things different, jumping up to the lead for the first time today, so we'll see how that figures itself out. Going to be Sheridan Wade, Matthias Strauss, Matthew Weeks, 2, 3, 4, and Net 1, 2, 3 off of pit road. Nate Fields is 2 laps down and on pit road as we speak, so it looks like for Fields a little more trouble than we anticipated. Off of the circuit while the rest of the field is going at it. You see the mid pack right now and the final pack coming together. The second grouping is going to go from Mark Murphy up to Sheridan Wade. Gary Lovern is a few spots behind, but double file running for the fight in the top 5. There's Matthias Strauss, and it looks like Julian right there, 3 wide with Matthew Weeks on the bottom. And it's going to be a quick move just beyond the confines of Weeks and company. Looks like right now Matthias Strauss gets the advantage. Now, 2x2 up top, there's going to be Julian in that number 11, and as Julian makes a way around, looks like starting to drop back. Not going to hold on, perhaps with that older set of rubber here, Gary, and starting to feel the drawbacks as the race has gotten going. Weather conditions for today's event, the track temperature isn't too extreme, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and the ambient temp is 83, so not much difference, and winds northwestbound at 1 mile an hour, overcast skies overall. In all honesty, very fair conditions. I just think right now for Julian, it's just wear on the tires that makes all the difference.
Yeah, weather, good condition. Track's good condition weather-wise. Normally the VOR races, they don't throw a lot of extremes at you. And it should be a good race, a straight-up race for everybody.
And keeping things simple up on the top side, and now it's going to be Julian working just ahead of Meadows in the 46, and right now you're going to see Cody Meadows right there in the 46 machine drop down to the bottom side. Cody going to find his way through for the podium spots, and it's a busy day in the open wheel community, so 14 drivers making it for this finale. Unfortunately, not as many as we would have liked to have, but the reason being, it's also Virtual 500 weekend. We'd like to keep you updated with that as well here on FTN. Race first. At the moment, these drivers, a few of which might come up to the top split campaign and fight for a victory in the Indy 500 at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Seaboard time. Join me, Gary, and the entire Race First crew there, because as soon as we're going to bounce from Fontana, we've got ourselves another race. 200 laps of more racing coming at you live from the virtual Brickyard. It is going to be a thriller in its own right. So if you like what you're seeing right now, maybe some familiar faces are going to make their way through once again. Mark Murphy going to be with Sheridan Wade, and it looks like now Wade gonna drop back. Murphy gonna grab the race lead for the first time today. There goes the number 69, dropping to the bottom side and getting a little further out as it looks like Sheridan Wade decides to run on that middle groove. Lead changes have been fast and frequent so far. Cody Meadows and Julian Altano once again in the mix, and as the sun beams down to the Auto Club Speedway, we might be seeing a day to night race coming to form. Still 120 plus laps remaining. There's time, but the question becomes, of course, how do these drivers adapt? Because usually, if you're the quickest driver before the sun sets, it's very unlikely you are when it's all said and done. The condition change is going to be drastic if we really do see it. Murphy at the line, bottom side there. He finds himself leading, and that's going to be totally, to this point, his 6th lap lead of 35. So now Mark might be a contender for the race lead here, holding on, and it looks like getting himself up in the pack is the most important part. It looks like about 9 drivers are with this group, going back to Gary Lovern and Matthew Weeks, so make it 10. 11th place is going to be John Christensen and Dan Enches in 12th. All grouping further back, most of the field still together. Looks like could be 3 wide for the race lead. Mark Murphy down low. Up top is Sheridan Wade. Once again, a drastic move. And just like that, you're going to see Julian looking back. Mark Murphy been the master of defense to this point, and he's going to hold on once more. Murphy up at the front of the field. Yaroslav Donskoy is going to be in 5th, and Donskoy going to be in that PPG machine Penske paint scheme. And it looks like right now, first time we've seen him in quite a few races, in all honesty. He's come in about once a month so far this season, and Donskoy getting his one and only opportunity in June, and so far making the most of it, running in 6th. Not a half bad effort so far.
Of course, Penske used to own this racetrack back in the day. Now I believe what's left of it, NASCAR owns it. They sold off a good portion of it to turn it into a short track because of the land, price of the land out in California was more to them to sell than it was to keep as a racetrack. Ooh, Julian pushing up against Smith. And Donskoy was thinking about going high and almost had contact happen. Everything in a perfect storm was brewing right then and there. But, of course, this is, in its 2-mile form, the world record track, closed circuit, closed course track record was set here by 2003 Indy 500 winner Gilles de Ferran. He turned an incredible lap of 241.428. That's an official lap. He did it under qualifying. That wasn't done under testing. That wasn't done in any other special circumstances. That was a straight-up lap that he did under competition conditions, 241.428. To date, this is the only track in the world that a 240 mile per hour plus lap has been turned by an IndyCar in an official racing state. And also the IndyCar kart. So that's the kart track record, by the way. That's when Gilles de Ferran was driving for kart. The IndyCar IRL track record is held by 4-time Indy 500 winner. Actually, Gilles' teammate back in the day. Helio Castroneves back in 2003, he turned a lap of 226.7578, a more pedestrian speed compared to that 241. Also, the IndyCar record here for the fastest 400-mile race was set. That was also done back in the day. We got contact. Gavin Smith into the wall. He came wheel-to-wheel contact with Donskoy, and we were back under caution.
Another troublesome moment for a rookie, and Gavin Smith going to catch a piece. He was 3rd before coming to the line, and you see it there. Smith in big trouble. We're going to take it back a lap and figure out what happened here. Now down to the bottom of the circuit, and I think that's the biggest wreck we've seen today. Smith and the second yellow, cautions out. Let's take a look back throughout the previous lap and figure out what happened.
Yeah, Julian was right there too. Almost got out, and then looks like maybe Pedro just got by the skin of his teeth as well.
Rushing down the back straightaway, it looked to be a little bit of Not contact through the corners, but they were tight already, and the yellow flag going to fly after contact with Donskoy. Up to the wall, and Gavin Smith, bad news there. And just like that, the 14 going to drop down and in. Mark Murphy now going to be the driver who leads the way, and all is well, 41 laps in out of 156, Gary. We got things going after a brief yellow flag, and now everyone settled themselves down and in. Pit road is busy, and it's time to figure out exactly what's going on with strategy.
Yeah, coming down, new tires, and everything worked out for Julian. Julian did not need to do any special stops there. He went 40 laps on his first stint, so that wreck, actually, this caution has brought him. Oh, we got cars bouncing all over the place on pit road.
And it looks like everyone does keep it straight coming out. But coming in was a little bit dicey at the line. Mark Murphy going to keep that race lead, and we're going at it all over again. Now it's going to be different order with Meadows second, Pedro Blabel third, Matthias Strauss fourth, and Julian Altina fifth, Gary Lovern sixth, and Matthew Weeks there in seventh. And that's the way they roll. 42 laps in at a 156 coming off pit road. Murphy once again on top.
Yeah, Julian back on schedule now. So this might be of benefit to him. He can probably do this in one less stop than everyone else. So we shall see if we got into that overlap area. I was getting ready to say the fastest 400-mile race was here in 2003. Sam Hornish Jr. set that, and the fastest 400-mile race is race average was 207.151. Of course, with two cautions under our belt, we are not going to see that here today. But the all-time winners here are Sam Hornish and Jimmy Vasser and Adrian Fernandez with 2. And the interesting thing about Fernandez is he's notable because he's the only one to ever win here in a kart machine and in an IRL machine.
Now, there's no such thing as a VOR split. We're not going to see anyone trying to go for that type of record here on the sim. Matter of fact, though, you do mention, talking about the lower series, Matthew Weeks has himself a victory in some competition previously. Maybe someone can try to go for 2 levels of victories here at Fontana in the VOR ladder?
Well, let's put the camera on Christensen. He has one. Of course, he got the one at Daytona here in the series. He won in the DW12s. And I believe he also won in the IR-05, so he might be the only one. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm getting my drivers and my stats mixed up, but he might be the only one. Julian is also pretty close too. Julian's won a lot in the DW12s and the IR-05s. He's won, I think, at all 3 levels. Maybe Christensen's the other one. So if Weeks can do it, he would be at least another one coming to the party that's won at least 2 different levels.
Maybe an opportunity to climb all 3 of the ranks. Well, that being said, keep your eyes peeled on some of the veterans and maybe some of the guys you haven't seen too much in the IR-18 series getting ready to perhaps prepare themselves for next season, Season 12. Hey, speaking of Season 12, how about we talk about what we're looking at in regards to the schedule, which will begin June 15th. The Homestead Miami 225, and then the Texas 300, a 200-lap feature in Dallas. How about that for the second race? The Grand Prix of Road America going to be 38 laps after, then Iowa, Gateway, the Grand Prix of Indianapolis, and a 500-miler September 7th, Nashville Superspeedway, Laguna Seca, Pocono, Kentucky. Phoenix once again comes back, and then indeed the Grand Prix of Sonoma and the Las Vegas 300 to end the year's schedule. From June to December, non-stop VOR action, and the green flag flies once again. Back on the way here for lap 44. It's going to be Mark Murphy who leads it through, and he's got it once again side by side with Cody Meadows. The lead battle rages on.
And while we get back into action here, everyone, if you got a moment, click on that ALS tab, open that in another tab, and give a donation to the ALS. Of course, one of my baseball heroes, Kurt Schilling, is a big supporter of ALS. Julian shooting to the front here now, looking on the back end of Mark Murphy, but you might remember you might not. This is where our difference in age comes in. You might remember the 2004 World Series where he pitched with the bloody sock, and he knew that he was going to have a lot of focus on that bloody sock through the playoffs. And I believe in the World Series, he had on there ALS.org to advertise ALS on his sock. So he's a big-time supporter, one of my baseball heroes. Helped bring a World Series to my team for the first time in 84 years. Since then, they've won a couple more, which makes me feel a lot more comfortable. But that was a pretty big feat back in 2004, Kurt Schilling. So give a donation if you can to ALS. A organization worth your time for research, and of course supporting those caregivers is always very important.
And you mentioned Kurt Schilling, 04. What a series that was for Boston. The comeback against the New York Yankees in particular in the championship series. And Schilling, one of the many heroes there for the city of Boston. And, you know, Boston, we've mentioned this a few times in FTN, but we'll mention it once again. The Red Sox have very deep ties to iRacing as an organization. John Fenway, major financial supporter there of what ended up being iRacing and the guys at Papyrus. And in other somewhat related stock car lore, I remember in the 2007, Carl Edwards had himself a Boston Red Sox scheme for Roush Fenway Racing. There is a tie over there in the Fenway group and iRacing and Motorsport itself. But going back, of course, to the cause of the day, 48 laps in, Alz.com or Alz.org for tonight's race, rather. The broadcast, of course, we got the chat room link, and it's going to be up on the timing ticker all day long. The brand new timing ticker here for VOR. You might have seen it for the first time on Tuesday night with the Frank Pauli 500, another charitable event that we had with the Moving Chicanes Racing League. Gary and I taking it on. It's been a week of supporting the cause. I think that's the same once again. You see Dan Ench right now in 12th. It's tight from 1st to 12th. There's a separation of 1 second now. That's about the closest they've been all race long.
Yeah, throw a blanket over him right now. Dan's playing it very smart, being right back there, keeping everything in front of him. Julian up on the wall saying hello to that safer barrier.
Julian trying everything to keep that lead, high side, low side, and all the way up top. You mentioned it, Gary. Very little room for error there if anything were to happen, and, you know, luckily nothing has, but if Mark Murphy catches whiff of a mistake, we might see the 69 once again back in the race lead. Meadows going to be third, Strauss in fourth, Sheridan Wade is in fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 0.5 of a second. A little bit of a further stretch back for Dan Ench right now. He's still waiting for trouble. We've seen two drivers with incidents. Gavin Smith is out of this race. Nate Fields is 7 laps down, but Nathan Smith is, or rather Fields is racing. Gavin Smith is done for the day. 13 drivers are still going as it stands, and it's side by side with Yaroslav Donskoy, Matthew Weeks, and Pedro Blabel right now. Looks like Weeks is on his lonesome, and nobody to help him as he goes down to the bottom, one at a time.
I don't want to jinx the other broadcast, but I think that split's going caution-free so far in Indianapolis.
The iRacing Open, guys, it's going to be Arjuna, Kenneth Bueno, the FTN NASCAR broadcaster. I believe with them, is it Joe Peak as the third commentator for tonight's event? It's a star-studded crew on iRacing, I'll say that much.
Olsen, Van de Sant, Kraus, top 3, DeBarrett, Malechka, Brophy, is your 6th. McCown, Harrington, Oster, Berryman is the Raymond Ranger, the top 10. I believe they've gone the entire distance without a caution. So they've done us one better than we did last night for our open broadcast at 9 p.m. Eastern on Raceverse. We got the lap 88 before, I think it was one of your NASCAR guys, wasn't it?
It was James Holter was in a lot of trouble in regards to that event. But
he had himself not a great night.
He did come away, though, with the top 15. Despite all
how
the
he
troubles,
pulled that off after causing he caused 2 cautions, right?
2 cautions. It was single car incidents for him, and then an incident with about 15 to go. Holzer was all over with trouble, but either way, he made it out somehow. It just looks like nobody around and was able to do so either.
Well, I think a lot of what helped him out is just the massive fuel save at the end that everyone was doing. We had a group of guys up front that were gambling. There was a group of guys in the back. They're like, nah, I'm not going to gamble. We're just going to run this out. And some guys stopped, and I believe he was one of them, and he was able to go full burn and worked his way up into a top 15, which, you know, when you think about it, he at least went to the back, to the front, to the back, to the front, to the back, to the middle, at one point. So, I mean, that's kind of the drive of the night that really went unspoken last night in last night's race. But right now, 77 to go at Indianapolis, and I believe they are caution-free. Not so much the case here, but we got a spirited group of guys that are keeping it in close proximity, trying to run this stint out and get to the end of this season.
You know, we mentioned Matthew Weeks. We've mentioned the Oval Ringers. Weeks has competed against a lot of the drivers we were talking about yesterday. Aaron Brown, Eric Heater, Luke Peters. Those are drivers who have raced head-to-head against Matthew Weeks on the FTN network, among other leagues. So I'll tell you this much. If Weeks was in that event, I'm sure he would have been able to stick with it. It was a combination of drivers from all around the oval scene. You see guys like Nate Stewart, James Holzer. Adam Benefiel was the first driver out. Benefiel, I believe, was the cause of that first caution. He was down and out, and he had trouble from lap 50 onward, but not the best of nights for Benefiel. A few of the other oval guys did better. Eric Heater in particular, he came out of nowhere at the end in that Domino's car. And for reference,
I love that car.
You know, I looked it up last night.
night.
If you want a Tyco Domino's diecast, one of those slot cars, it costs $30 plus $9 shipping and handling off eBay.
I have Tom Sneva's Texaco Star right here next to my computer, so I have one from back in the day. But yeah, I love that car. There's a reason I commissioned 5 Race First branded throwback chassis of former Indy 500 winners, and one of them was R. Lindyk's 1990 winner. Ooh, getting close there with Murphy and Cody Meadows, I think, there in turn 4. But and that's just that red, white, and blue car was always, and it's a red, white, and blue, but it's a non-patriotic red, white, and blue, right? It's a branding of a company, red, white, and blue, and it just works so well. And I wish Domino's would come back in IndyCar racing. That'd be so awesome to see the Domino's Hot One again on the side of an IndyCar. But that is such an iconic livery. So many great drivers have been in that and behind the cockpit of that car before. Of course, it won the Indy 500 in 1990, and you know, my kind of my throwback livery says Race First on the side. But the thing is, incidentally, I have a Race First version of what Weeks is driving, and I just sent him a DM in a Discord that I'll see after the race. I've always liked that livery and he's falling back now. Probably saw a little too much action at the front. Once I get back here in line, as we're starting to slide up here a little bit, but I've always liked that livery combination. Kind of reminds me of a Meteor, where it's like red hot or yellow hot at the nose, and it kind of tapers off into a tail there. That's kind of what that car kind of a flying meteor type livery, I call it. But I've always played with when I inherited Race First, and I was given Race First to me by Indycar Scarlett, which she said, just go ahead and run it how you want to run it. I've always looked at that color combination as a possible future branding color combination for Race First. I love that livery a lot. So much so that not only do I have an IR-18 of it, I have an IR-05 and a DW-12 of it.
Going back a little bit more to the Domino's, I was trying to find this piece of trivia last night and kind of got swept up in all the racing. This one's from more the stock car side, but I found it interesting. Carl Long, who competed for a long time in the NASCAR Cup Series, among others, he was a franchise manager for Domino's in the late 80s, and I sent you a picture, and maybe we can get it on the next broadcast we have at Race First if there's another Domino's car, a Volkswagen Beetle with the same colors. Unfortunately, no, Domino's is not really involved with any more racing at this point. Don't see that all too often any longer, but Matthew Weeks doing pretty good in that Verizon paint scheme. It's different. It almost kind of reminds me of the PPG car Donskoy is running in. Yaroslav up in his second here. It's another colorful splash, and both of those cars came to NASCAR as well. Ryan Blaney ran the PPG car, and it was Austin Cindric with the Verizon one there, with the orange and the purple and all.
Yeah, and should be no surprise. Penske drivers. Those are Penske liveries.
Right now, it's going to be a Penske paint scheme taking it to the top of the board. It is Yaroslav Donskoy and Sharon Wade, the 1-2 combo at the front of the field. And they're running pretty solid right now. No trouble for either of them. 63 laps in out of 156. Every driver getting themselves into a rhythm nicely so far. We've seen 2 cautions, but otherwise, the majority of the pack has been oh so tight. And everyone who's still in the field separated by 1.7 seconds.
So if we stay behaved, and this is me jinxing it right here because I just said if we stay behaved, we're 22 laps into the stint. We should see a pit stops occur here in about 8 to 10 laps if everyone is being as aggressive as they are under current full burn conditions.
Maybe looking at about 75 or 80 as our first green flag pit stop marker, which leaves us with 76-ish laps remaining. We would break that up into potentially
maybe
two stops if you can go all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, 35 apiece might be ideal, but I'm not quite sure if these drivers could pull that off from here.
And one thing we haven't talked about, mainly because of the cancellation of the last race, which was at Sonoma. We just didn't have a high enough car count to classify as an official race. I believe that pretty much clinched the championship of the IR-18 series to Bruno Miranda, who's not in the lineup today. So I do want to mention congratulations to Bruno, the Brazilian Storm, for winning the Season 11 championship here in VOR. It's a big deal considering how long this league has been around to get one of those crowns. So much congratulations to him, and hope we see him back again to defend that series for Season 12.
It was a fierce fight, especially in the first half of the season between Bruno and Craig Forsyth. Neither of them are here today, and Julian was part of that battle too. Oh, there's a wiggle and a half. There goes Meadows.
He got loose coming off of 4.
Cautions out, Cody Meadows.
He doesn't hit a thing, but he gets loose, and that's going to open up everyone's going to stop now. With 90 to go.
Take a look at this. Cody Meadows going to bring out the yellow flag. Here's the instant replay, and you'll see from the highest angle we can give you exactly what occurred. Meadows has been loose all day long, bumping through the track, and that's exactly what happens here. Nobody else involved does a very nice job of almost not even ending up in the grass there.
Yeah, just clips the grass at the end, helps him straighten out a little bit. Getting down there on the Geico paint job, straightens it out, drops a gear, and gets it back underway. Doesn't want to do any wheel spin. Those wheels are going to be really hot. Doesn't want to cause another spin after recover yourself. So he's going to come to pit road, able to get those now real worn Firestones off. 90 to go. It's still 2 stops. It's still 2 stops.
And dropping in after a 25-lap stint. Julian getting the chance to lead him in, so maybe in a better circumstance than anyone else now. The number 11 back on that level playing field. 67 laps in, we've got all but one driver on the circuit. Nate Fields is 7 laps down, and even though Cody ends up spinning, does not fall back off the lead lap. Julian making it in nicely to his pit stop, and everyone coming in together. Let's see what happens here. Who gets off pit road the quickest? Like right now, everyone entering all at once. Gary Lovren right by the exit, but Julian gets the victory off pit road. Then Mark Murphy, Yaroslav Donskoy, Sheridan Wade, and Pedro in the 88. Top 5 rounded out with Gary Lovren then 6th.
And while we got pit stops happening here, pit stops are happening in Indianapolis. 64 to go. A number of drivers are hitting pit road. Look like at least one more stop is in the mix for most of these guys. To nobody's surprise, Alex Van de Sant, former champion here in the VOR League, no less, is your leader at Indianapolis in the big open split that's being broadcast. But don't switch. Don't go. Stay here because we have a lot more closer racing going on because right now that field is well spread out.
But we saw Van de Sant, we saw quite a few favorites, honestly, like Brendan Trano and the like, having troubles very late at the end of last night's event. Speeding penalties caught 5 drivers, I think, at the end out. And those are some of the fastest drivers all race long. They still dropped in. Either way, Kraus had him. I mean, that strategy fell down perfectly. We mentioned how similar it was to 2016 with Rossi. Kraus in a great situation. 10 seconds ahead with a driver. He had I think that James Holter he was drafting off.
He had Holter that he was drafting off of for pretty much the remainder of that final 10 laps, and it helped him pretty much. As you've heard the grumbles for the community, and I think even Kraus said it, if it wasn't for there, it might have been a little bit difficult. And I heard some grumbles in the community saying, if it wasn't for that lap car, things would have been different. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. I mean, that's what happened when the pit stops happened, and that's where the car came out. It's not like wrestling where it's scripted, folks. This is real. This is a shoot, not a work. So, so good on him. Really, really good on him. And the drive of the night, I want to mention Brophy there. Brophy was down 2.5 miles there. He was down a lap to the entire field and pulled almost a Jacques Villeneuve and brought himself back with really fortuitous timing on a pit stop. He came to pit road, and then the track went caution, and then that cycled him all the way back around, and then there was another caution again, and that cycled him to the front. So very fortuitous timing for him. Had the drive of the night. Of course, have to coming back from one lap down is a really hard feat to do at Indianapolis. We are getting ready to go back, coming to green here. Altena, Murphy, and Donskoy, your top three, as the lights are starting to come on here in the facility.
Time for Julian to get things going. Our first restart under the lights, 70 laps in, coming out of lap number 69. Nice jump there. Julian gets us going again, and the green flag is out here in Fontana.
Should be mentioned right now, the leader of the Indy 500 is Constantini. Constantini was in our broadcast of the top split at Michigan to end what was officially known as the Indycar Fixed Series. And that is now the Indycar Oval Series. Oh, here comes, is that Meadows down at the bottom? Who's there? That's Sheridan Wade. He just shot out like a cannon down the back straight on the back of Murphy. Murphy on the last lap passed Constantini at Michigan in a huge strength of field race. 5,400, 5.4K. Huge, I mean, the biggest strength of field I've ever seen. And Murphy won that race by beating Constantini on the last lap. Sheridan Wade is not wasting any time, and he cuts down on the banking and picks up the lead as storming from the mid-pack to the lead here on the restart.
Sheridan Wade to the top of the board. You mentioned strength of field. The strength of field for this session comes in at about 2,600. So imagine a race with double that. I mean, 2,600 by no means is a low number, but 54, that's the average. There are drivers there who are clipping 62, 6,300. I would think at the minimum, maybe even higher.
Yeah, there's Robert Malechka, he's a 6K driver. Jesper Orman, he's a 6K driver. I mean, there's two that I can think of right off the bat, real easy. You throw Adam Blocker in there. Throw Alex Van de Sande in there. Constantini, he's going to be way up there. He's almost got a pro-level license. He might even have a pro-level license. I can't recall.
You know, we talk about iRating, and honestly, one thing I've seen on both sides of the oval table is the iRating inflation, so to speak. For the longest time, there was a driver who held the highest number of iRating in the oval platform. That was James Curl. I got the chance to see him race in one league event. He just got passed, and I think now the new high is 10.6 thousand. Gary, I got to ask you this. You got 3 chances. How old do you think that driver is with a new all-time highest ever oval iRating? How old do you think he is?
I will say 24, 25.
You're going to have to go lower than that.
Okay. 16, 17.
Lower.
Oh, my goodness.
One more. You got one more opportunity here.
14, 15.
Got it on one of them. 14 years of age. The highest oval iRating is held by a 14-year-old now, and he races for EPI. It's unbelievable. iRating over 10,000, and the youngest ever driver to eclipse the marker. I mean, at this point, iRating means such a... It's a different number than what it was 4 or 5 years ago now. It's tricky to sort of explain it without understanding what the system is, but Road to Pro, I think, is a pretty big example, and I think we're going to see with that IndyCar Road to Pro, which is coming up soon. The numbers are just, they're driving themselves up because now there's so many ways to gain iRating. If you find the right fields to sort of beat up on or find the right drivers to race with consistently, those strength of field events, everyone's rising higher and higher right now, and that's why we're seeing such huge numbers from drivers all across the board.
And then when you get to certain weeks at certain tracks with certain cars, people will do iRating farming. Well, they just go out there and compete in official after official after official and work that iRating up. But a good number of in the IndyCar community of 5K or plus. They're just some of the best drivers that I know of. Period. And the reason I say that is that, NASCAR, you can have a little bit more fun, a little less leeway. I can bump people. I can nudge on you a little bit, but you just can't do that in these cars. You can't. I always say it takes more skill to go inches wheel to wheel with somebody and not touch them, because I know it takes no skill to go out and bump somebody, because I can go out do that in the stop sign at the end of my drive or at the end of my street. I can go hit that car no problem. It's when you go in a virtual world 230 miles per hour like we're seeing here and going wheel to wheel and not bumping, that's where the skill set comes in. Not saying that anything less on the Road to Pro guys, but for NASCAR. But it's good to see that there will be a Road to Pro series coming up for IndyCar. There will be a Pro series, so maybe we start seeing some crossover. I've heard some rumblings of some of the NASCAR drivers wanting to give IndyCar a try.
I don't think there's a reason to say no to that. By the way, for those who are wondering about who the driver is with the new highest iRating, Joel Smith, 14 years old, with a 10,814 oval iRating, surpassing James Curl, who's sitting at about 10.5 at the time of the surpassing. So, I mean, that's a driver who's right now in the Legends Series in the real world, so a very young driver, not someone who's even in the Pro Series right now for any iRacing level. I think the youngest professional iRacer that I can think of right now would be Mike Mitchum. Mitchum is 14 years of age. He's at the top split of the eNASCAR Road to Pro ladder. You don't see that in the oval or the open wheel world. But I also think that just comes with experience here. iRacing and its association with NASCAR is stronger than admittedly what we're seeing on this side of the table. And we mentioned how long it took. It is getting better. That is true. Yeah. But it took a while to get to that point. And it's great to be back, but it took us far too long.
Yeah, we've got some definite upgrades in these cars to look forward to in the coming year. New aero screen, the aero screen 2.0 have not been applied to these cars graphically yet. Of course, that's going to lighten them up a little bit, change the center of gravity. A lot of these guys have been sitting on setups now since 2000 that really have been managing to carry over year after year. They're going to have to go back and change those probably a little bit, because that's going to change the center of gravity of the car a little. Just by the tiniest amount. And these cars are very sensitive to that type of thing. Then, of course, we're going to get the hybrid package here sometime soon, which we will actually have, of course, push to pass on the road courses, and then some type of hybrid assist on the ovals. That's going to be awesome. But I believe also that's going to add weight to the car. And so we'll see these cars probably getting a little bit heavier and maybe transferring weight to the rear, but it's also going to increase horsepower. So that will also change a lot of those setups that these teams have been sitting on for about 4 years. So very exciting times here in the IndyCar side of things. And on top of that, the cherry on the cake is the Pro Series that's going to start in September. And of course, there's going to be a way to qualify for that, and then there's going to be a way that you got to get into the main ranks there. And we were talking with Charlie Sears last night, part of our Open coverage on Raceverse for the Open 500, and he knows firsthand what it's like to get that pro license. It's not easy. And if you don't know the Charlie Sears story, search him out on YouTube. Just do Charlie Sears iRacing. There should be the lowest rated pro I-rated pro on the service for a period was him, as he got invited to a Pro Series by being first alternate and committed to the series, and then eventually scored a point in the series. It's a very feel-good story that happened to a really, really great guy.
You never know who's next. Yeah, I mean, some of these drivers I think might have the talent to go out there and give it a chance. Right now, Sheridan Wade has been your leader for the past few laps. Let's check how many laps Sheridan has led to this point. A total of 19 so far out of 84. So about a quarter of the race led by Sheridan as it stands. And with 73 to go, things are winding down. We're on a 16-lap stint, about the halfway point of this run. And that would lead us to potentially our final pit stop cycle coming up next. 73 laps remaining, so we could come down to maybe 50 to go. It's going to be tricky from here. Maybe not going to be our final pit stop cycle just yet, but we're getting close closer, and Wade has been dominant so far in this run, coming up to lap number 85 out of 156, and we are clearly in the second half. Most drivers running single file from Sheridan Wade all the way down to Dan Enge, first to 11th, still tied up.
Yeah, you just sent me the picture here on Joel. As someone that's definitely 100% old enough to be his father, probably twice over, I think. And if you don't know how old I am, I don't sound as old as I sound, or as young as I sound. I'm much older than that. But just being his parents, they got to hold homework and schoolwork over his head all the time in order for him to want to get to be able to dedicate that much time to a. I'm going to say it. A lot of people don't like it, but it is still a video game at the end of the day. That is the parents going to try to hold that over his head. So poor kid. I'm sure all he hears all the time is make sure you get your homework done and make sure your grades are good. Otherwise, I'm not letting you play your iRacing.
I mean, the real life and virtual commitment, it's doubly so these days. Yeah. And using iRacing.
It's not cheap for a parent, especially if he's a real racer. I mean, that's a lot of money that a parent is laying out for even a car of that class.
100%. Now, the question becomes, get involved with the team, and that's what iRacing sometimes allows. We see a lot of drivers here who are on the IndyCar side. They're got their own teams. We mentioned how dominant i5G was majority of last night, and getting with these bigger teams in the digital realm sometimes helps out with getting opportunities in the real world. We've seen that play out previously, and we saw i5G. They've been able to control Indy for the past few years. No doubt about it. We've seen it happen, and we've seen it all play out time and time again. But right now, when you're in a league event, it's not always like that. You're almost racing for yourself, it feels like. Maybe you got a few teammates around you. I know Julian does, and John Christensen right now for Team 4. But otherwise, almost everyone's independent.
Yeah, it is a long road to hoe to be an independent driver. You do need wingmen. And then there's kind of different classes of teams. There's teams that specialize in fixed. There's teams that specialize in fixed and open. There's teams that only specialize in open. There's teams that only specialize in the IIS or the official series. There's teams that only specialize in league racing. There's teams that only specialize in official open or official fixed, oval fixed. But I'm looking at the 500 right now. Power Slide's dominating right now. Power Slide 1, 2, 3. Then we have a private label Team Hype in 4th, and then we have the first i5G car. But still, there's 45 laps to go over there. Plenty of time for the i5G guys to come forward. But I think we saw kind of a little chink in their armor last night because that was private label Team Hype that got that win with Kraus. And normally that's a sign of things to come, and Kraus is sitting in 4th right now. So we knew that was an ultimate warm-up race for what we're going to see later today, and it is definitely proving that that way right now is almost mirror image of what we see, with the exception of a few different cars because of the European time difference. But here's 67 to go, and everyone is just kind of settled in to what it looks to be fuel saving.
Might see a 40-lap run. Possibly if these drivers keep on saving. Let's take a look at the last lap mile an hour here and compare it to the best. So right now, your leader, who's of course right now going to be Sheridan Wade, ran at 2:17.2. So not running slow by any means, and most drivers are on that same pace, except for right now Gavin Smith's last lap from way back when. And Fields, Nate Fields is still on the track, ran at 2:12, so a bit slower than everyone else. At the line again, it was Sheridan Wade with a 2:17.424. Now the best lap that Wade ran was a 23.269.
Draft dated, 100% draft dated. He's probably got his foot buried in it right now, going as fast. In fact, one way to know is if you ride on board with him. He's in sixth gear, which is as best as you're going to do fuel saving wise at leading a pack. And he's at 100% throttle.
And we can see it here, putting it all the way up to the second highest. Not getting it down to the limiter, but he's going quick. Not a question. I think he's got it just about full on with the throttle, maybe losing a few revs as he's keeping it in 6th. And our telemetry estimates will show you no signs of hitting the brakes. Several miles an hour slower than his all-time quickest, which was draft dated, mind you. But either way, right now, I think the majority of the field might be thinking more and more about that fuel saving as we get down to the very final leg of this tour.
And Sheridan from Indiana, my fellow Hoosiers.
Cody Meadows is in third. Despite the troubles early, Cody's gotten himself back inside the podium. One of the drivers who was struggling a little bit more, perhaps with the track conditions when it was a little sunnier. Weather right now, it has changed drastically when it comes down to the ambient temperature, but the track temp is within 2 degrees of where we started, 83 Fahrenheit, when the ambient is down to 80. So a few changes, and overcast skies are still being reported. The winds are still minimal, and the humidity is all the way down to 0%. Maybe it is just the fact that the sun is gone and no longer you're putting down that much heat, because Wade has come back into his own, and Cody Meadows has extensively. Cody, who almost got himself done and done with that spin he had previously, inside the podium, and no signs of stopping.
Donskoy on the outside, just getting a little clean air. There's a lot more aero push through that corner than you would want to originally believe. But Donskoy Rizza worked his way up in that 00 Vodafone Formula One throwback. Come on, Rizza. we got to get you to IndyCar. Of all the IndyCar liveries out there you could choose. Come on. And then right behind him is Julian, who I'm sure is biding his time, fuel saving, and right with him are his teammates, Lovern, Bleibel, Christensen, all in a row. A little bit of a Altena Autosport VOR team parade from 6th on to 9th. And Weeks is tacked on back there in 10th. I'm sure he's following suit. He's seeing the trend. And Inch at the very end of this train, again, keeping everything in front of him, running a very smart race. Just need to put yourself in a position to try to win this thing with 10 to go. And we still a little ways from doing that, about 100 miles away from even getting to where we're going to really start racing for this thing.
97 laps in, coming up to 98. You mentioned it, Gary. We have got time, and we might not have time in spades any longer, but we still have a ways to go. Going to be the triple-digit laps coming very, very soon, and the Sheridan Wade coming across again as your race leader. They have let Wade control this one, I think, for good reason here. He's going to be the first driver to burn out his equipment in full, the tires and whatnot. Not going to be easy to come back, and as it stands, Mark Murphy, Cody Meadows, Yaroslav Donskoy, and Raid Rizza, all drivers who have decided to just lie back, get a little bit more in time after time. The fuel saving going to be more extensive for them than your race leader, and that's going to be at their advantage. 30 laps into this stint now with 59 laps to go. Maybe there's potential to try to stretch it a little bit further, but I think we're still going to see perhaps 2 pit stops if this race goes the direction it's been heading. Unless these drivers stretch it to maybe lap 40, which I don't know it's going to be possible on this stint. Everyone right now sitting comfortable for whatever is next. As you see, there's Pedro and John Christensen running right now. VOR liveries. Gary Lovern going to be with Julian, and Julian now outside the top 5 from starting a little bit further up in this stint. Either way, I think it's more about being patient right now than anything else. Don't expect all too much of that aggression up at the front of the field. Save for Sheridan Wade as Donskoy decides to drive right under on Cody. That's going to be a move for third.
Yeah, this Fontana in the VOR series has hosted the final event a number of seasons. Of course, for a while, this was the final race on the kart and also the IndyCar schedule. We've seen the season wrap up in IndyCar before at Homestead. We've seen the season kick off there before. We've seen the season end at Texas for the longest time in IndyCar racing when it was under the IRL banner. Saw it end at Las Vegas for a couple seasons under the IRL banner. Part of the original vision of Tony George for the IRL was to have the season end at Indianapolis. So the first race after Indianapolis will be the next race of the next season. Of course, that didn't really work out with the way that sponsor teams want to do and companies want to do sponsorship. So that's why when you go back and look at IndyCar history, you see the 94 kart season, 95 kart season, then you see this 96, 97 IRL season, and then the 96 kart season. Well, that's when the split happened, and that's when they tried to do a calendar year from first race to last race at Indianapolis, and that just didn't quite work out well for them. So that's why you see that split year there.
Worst part of it is we're never going to see Fontana in this same form
I
ever
know,
again, regardless of anything.
I know. Thank you to iRacing though for having it rescanned for all posterity to in the future to race anything we want here.
That's the best of it, having that laser scan replica. Michigan is similar. I mean, it would be fun to see IndyCar come back to Michigan in that capacity, but Michigan in itself is a much older pavement, and even though Fontana really not going to be touched up upon and perhaps ever again, I wonder how Michigan's future is going to be with stock car racing the priority over there, but it's a 2-mile circuit, and it brings a very similar nature. We'll see Michigan next season, in Season 12, as a matter of fact, so if you like the racing you're seeing here, we are expecting a spiritual successor in the coming months here in VOR. And right now, I think maybe a driver like Sheridan Wade will be especially comfortable with seeing that, as he still is the leader of our train here with 53 remaining.
And he's coming to pit road.
And Wade
is coming to pit
down
road.
and in.
So that is 37. Let's see, Wade, 36 laps. So he's going to have to stop again if he keeps up that pace again. So Michigan, yeah, banked a little bit steeper, 18 degrees versus the banking here, or was here. It has been destroyed. Of course, we've had a rash of super speedways disappearing on us as we're watching Sheridan Wade. I'm watching Sheridan Wade coming to pit road. I'm not sure. I think everyone else is watching action on the racetrack. I'm just making sure that he's on and off safe, which looks like he is. But yeah, we had Ontario. That's gone. We had Texas World Speedway and College Station near Texas A&M. That's gone. Now Fontana's gone. Doesn't do you any good to build a racetrack in California, or at least Southern California. Riverside, Fontana, Ontario, yeah, all gone. Only thing good out of Southern California is a temporary road course for Long Beach.
Long Beach being perhaps the realest street circuit there is in the entire country, at the very least.
Yeah. I would say that's the second, well, definitely on the IndyCar circuit, that is the second most sought-after race to win. Kind of like at in stock car when everyone wants to win the Daytona, but let's say for the longest time, Darlington was like the next big crown because it was the oldest race and everyone wanted to win there. That's kind of the same thing with Long Beach. If you even if you don't win in Indianapolis, if you win at Long Beach, you can still say that you had a pretty decent career.
49 laps remaining here, the home stretch in mind. We've been on about a 50-lap tear, green flag laps, it appears, and getting ourselves a really nice rhythm with these drivers getting back on the way. Looks like Nate Fields is coming down to pit road for his pit stop, perhaps going to retire the car 10 laps down, but hopefully Nate stays with us coming into pit road and drops into his stall, and just like that, another driver down and into pit road. Side by side for the lead, Mark Murphy cuts under, and it looks like now he wants the advantage, perhaps coming into pit road. No other signals just yet to enter, and Mark Murphy decides to take that race lead. A quick pass upon Cody as the number 46 now drops ever so slightly back. Expect everyone to come in within the next 10 laps here. 41 laps. If these drivers go 5 or 6 laps more, they could make it on their final stop this time around. That's the big question, and if you've saved enough, maybe there's an opportunity to make this the final stop of the night.
And Fields did 33 laps and a very leisure pit stop in and out. No problems there. Murph is on 42. And you're right. If get 5 more laps or so, it's going to be tougher for him than, say, let's take a look at Julian, who I know is in someone's draft and saving.
And it's a big drop at a pit road this time by for Mark Murphy and Cody Meadows coming together here. And, we got one that's going to slide. That's Matthew Weeks. Weeks in trouble.
Turn around. That's not going to be a caution because he's on pit road, but that's going to be, he now needs a caution because that's going to be costly to him on the racetrack. And he might even get a hold here for an unsafe pit entry.
No other contact, but just going to be a quick spin. And as such, Matthew Weeks is going to fall off the lead pack. And we'll see whether or not he stays in the lead lap after that one. He's not going to be with the pack. That is for certain. And here comes another group in. It's going to be now Donskoy coming with Rizza. And as they come through together, another pair, that's going to leave Julian, your new race leader.
And all we have to do is look what's going on in the top 5. I believe we have all Altina Autosports cars through the top 5 now on the racetrack.
Now the Altina group going to get up at the front of the field, and that leaves Gary Lover and John Christensen coming together. They almost made contact, but everything stays together, and it's going to be tight, but luckily nothing comes of it. They were just about an inch away.
And they did 44 laps on that last stint, so we got 44 to go now. So this is it for these guys. Some of these other guys that just stopped a little bit before this, they might have to make a splash and dash at the end, or hope for some caution, or maybe try to save on the racetrack.
And that leaves us with Julian and Pedro and Dan Ench, the 1-2-3 combo. How about Dan Ench here making it work on strategy to get right with them?
Nice job. They're doing 45 laps, so at least the top 2. I think Inch might have done 44.
Ant's going to do 1 lap less, but all the same, he comes in right with Pedro and Julian, and he jumped in big in the pit road to get that distance even shorter. Dan Ench have a pit stop there. He's going to come through with Julian and Pedro. There's a chance there here, and looks like maybe 5 or 6 drivers with the opportunity to make that their final for certain.
And Julian beats out all 3 of them, well, all 2 of them. And here comes Murph. There's your leaders. And then Wade and Strauss.
Wade right now going to make his move into 3rd. He's got Mark Murphy just a few tenths ahead, and it's now Murphy and Meadows, the 1-2 combo with 42 laps remaining. Time is running out, and you can see it here. It's now going to be side by side as Mark cuts deep to the lead.
With 42 to go here, Murphy, Meadows, Wade, Altina, Christensen, Bleibel, Donskoy, Inch, Rizza, and Weeks. Weeks, is probably well removed from this pack at the moment there because of the incident that he had on pit road. But that is your top 10. Looking at Indianapolis, 24 to go. And Krista Merritt is your leader, so I5G has risen to the top there. He is being tracked down, though, by Power Slides, Alex Vanisant, and Private Label Team Hype, and last night's winner, Dr. Phil. And they're going caution. They just went caution.
And a yellow flag out at the Brickyard.
Yeah, and that's going to make things interesting over there. This really reminds me when I was sitting in the stands in '96. Again, showing my age. When the split 500. Now there's no split going on here. There's no ill will or anything that's going on. It's just how these things are timed. And Risley, and to Julian's defense, and he's the admin of this league. And why is this running so close to the official 500? We didn't know. And Dave will back us up on this. We didn't know until basically the start of the month what the schedule was for the 500s. And in the past, it's been fixed was 1 week, open was the next week. And then there wasn't any interference with the IIS. Well, this week, it's, fixed and open on the same weekends, running on the same days, often within minutes of apart of each other, on top of IIS. And so some of these leagues that have no idea what's going on because we don't know the times that iRacing is going to give certain special events, go ahead and schedule their schedules as they should. And they need to get broadcasters. They need to pay broadcasters and all that stuff. So they got to commit to certain dates, right? So this is why we are running here right now as we're kind of running an opposite in Indy 500 that some of these guys might otherwise be running in. Is because of iRacing was so late to get us these times. Man, the racing up at the front is just super tight as they know they're getting into the final stages here. But it really reminds me sitting in the stands in the Indy 500 and 96 where people behind me were listening to the kart race on the radio and watching the 500 in front of them. And and I'm getting reports from them as I'm watching everything in the 500 going on. So it's real interesting to have two big time IndyCar races going on at the same time.
And now going to be 3 wide coming across the stripe. Meadows going to see Sheridan Wade and Mark Murphy both making moves. There goes Wade to the middle side, and it's going to be also coming through Cody Meadows. Mark Murphy's got pressure. It's not going to be easy for the driver, the 69 here, to hold on, and it's going to come down to patience here. Watching high. There goes Cody Meadows once again, looking to be aggressive. Now comes Julian. 3 wide again, and through 3 and 4. Look at that. Meadows makes the pass to get up to second. Mark Murphy still looking right behind, and he sees an awful lot there in the rearview mirrors as he's still holding his own. There goes Meadows up top. Everyone trying to get around Murphy, but he's played it calm so far, and that's exactly what his advantage is.
And that other car that's involved there, the Marcus Ericsson Delaware Life livery, that didn't make it much past turn 1 at the 500, unfortunately. That's Strauss. Strauss is a lap down at the moment. There's a little bit of drama in the community surrounding Rider Esports, and I think a lot of drivers have kind of moved on to other things. I think Strauss is one of those. Liam O'Sullivan is another one of those. We've seen him participate in the series.
Julian's got the best seat in the house for this battle, running 5th. Oh, so close to getting inside of it, but right now, being patient is all that matters. You don't want to end up ruining your equipment with 34 laps to go. No. It's the home stretch. Why not figure things out before getting yourself in it?
Now, if we can, let's show everyone what kind of Julian's looking at. If we can go to the in-car over the roll cage, or the roll bar there. So Julian out high, getting clean air on his wings, but he is well within the draft envelope of the lap car Strauss there. Julian keeping things high, helps his arc into the corner. Right now, Murphy on what we call the IRL line, or the Indy Racing League line. When Indy Racing League used to run here, they would camp down at that bottom line. Because that was truly an absolute the fastest way around this thing. Now we see Julian kind of going to the bottom. A lot of jockeying for position up front, and not a lot of people holding their lines. In fact, probably the best driver holding their lines right now is Murph on the bottom, and then kind of Julian at the top here. But any rapid moves of the wheels is going to scrub off speed, so you don't really want to jockey for lane after lane after lane in these cars. And the best thing to do is just really keep it in the same direction. That will maximize. There you see Julian with the arrow push, pushing him out a little bit. Now you have Strauss, and that is Meadows, I think. Kind of getting nearly close to wheel there. At some point, as we get down to maybe less than 20 to go, Strauss might want to make a decision that he wants to let these leaders battle it out on their own. For the meantime, he can see the battle for the lead. And that puts him down 1 lap, and so he'll want to try to get that lap back. But right now, he's going to stay there because as long as you can see the leader that close, you try to stay up with them, but don't interfere with the racing going on around you.
And you can see right now, I don't think it's all about that fuel saving any longer for Julian. He might be in the best position. It's just going to be push from this point onward to get perhaps a final win to cap off the season here as Gary Lovern comes down to pit road after 11 laps. I think that's a splash and go to finish it off.
Yeah, that's a tactical move.
Mark Murphy wiggling all over the place, trying to keep Sheridan Wade off of the back bumper, but there's no hope because Cody Meadows also goes up top, and it looks like so does the lap machine we've been talking about here. And in the mix is Nate Fields right now, further on back, Gary Lovern down to pit road, Matthias Strauss, though, right there in between 1 and 2. Down to pit road, Matthew Weeks as well. He's going to get his splash and go.
And the grass, it slid off into the grass. I'm not sure who that was.
That's going to be Sheridan Wade. Wade from the leading fight comes going into the grass on the way again. We're going to get a quick replay of that one because Sheridan Wade all but ends his race-winning chances.
Yeah. Weeks is on pit road now, making his final stop. He did 15 laps on that stint, so he just kind of did what he needed to do to top off and so come out again. With that incident, though, does not bring out a caution for Wade, but Wade was going to have RZA there to run with.
Just like that, Sheridan Wade going to be down on the grass and getting things going all over again, while Mark Murphy going to be your race leader and losing one big competitor. Matthias Strauss still on the back bumper. And Cody Meadows now going to promote himself up to second.
So if you're a Murphy, he should be driver aware. He probably knows that Strauss is a lap down. I might just let him go, and if Strauss has the pace to maybe follow through, although Meadows is going to take her 3 wide and not give a lot of room to Murphy on the bottom.
Mark Murphy going to decide to hold that low side, and it's going to be a trail of drivers 3 wide now. Matthias Strauss up top and Cody Meadows in the middle, and once again taking it 3 wide in the corners. It looks like Murphy once again the advantage, and he's had it so far. The best driver coming through with that defense. The bottom side has been his domain, and he's held it on nicely.
Robert Malechka 3 wide to the lead at Indianapolis with 16 to go.
And going to be close finishes for both races that you're keeping an eye on here. That Indy 500 coming to its end.
And 3 wide going into 3 at Indianapolis with Kraus going back to the lead. Your top 10 is a virtual who's who of the community. Kraus, Van de Sant, Malechka, Brophy, Olsen, Demerit, Oster, Lichtenberg, Chin, and Steele. None of the, I'm not really seeing any of the ringers up in the top 10 this time, although we're really one big wreck away, which we might see still from some of those ringers just kind of surviving and leaking their way into the top 10. Oh, there's a wreck and we're under caution there at Indianapolis. Okay, so I just jinxed the race from here. That is the type of power I have.
And it's going to be Cody Meadows on the grass as well, going down and in, loose, stays with the pack just barely, but Meadows, much like Sheridan Wade, finds trouble.
Yeah, you got to watch getting loose off of 4 here. That's too much weight, Jacker. You just keep dialing. And the thing is, Fontana does not go caution very easily. That's the same in everything I've seen. Trucks, NASCAR, stock car, everything. This track does not like, and he trying to come to pit road, but this track does not go, and maybe he was coming to pit road and that was the problem, because now he's coming to pit road right now. This track does not go caution very easily. I don't know if you've seen that as well.
Unfortunate for Cody Meadows, much like Sheridan Wade, a contender for the win. Matthew Weeks is also disconnected. Otherwise, now coming down with 23 laps to go, it is a smaller and smaller field. That leaves Mark Murphy and Julian as contenders now. Matthias Strauss has been running Mark Murphy close, like he's in the lead fight himself. Maybe Julian now going to try to break through, but nobody's gotten there so far. Murphy's held his own nicely.
Yeah, Murph's done a great job tonight. He's been, I think he's had a couple races already under his belt this weekend for the 500s. I believe he's at least done a fixed, I believe. He will be on the call with us for the fixed 500 here at 5 p.m. Eastern. That is, who is that there in the picture? Fields, staying high out of the way. Good etiquette there. Appreciate that. Strauss is not letting this battle go. Now, though, we've seen that he's breaking out. But this, I mean, this might as well be a 2-lap lead with what he has at speed going on over Julian. It makes me think that Julian is trying to pace himself now.
And you see there Yaroslav Donsko and John Christensen coming together. Perhaps an opportunity for this entire pack to get in the mix here, because they know Mark Murphy's trying to get through and just build that gap. 3 seconds right now, but with 21 laps to go, that could shrink in just about 2 or 3 laps time. Everyone else may be lying back for a few more, and perhaps by 15, 10 laps to go, they get back at it.
Oh, and unfortunately, the incident in Indianapolis was another one of the getting your left front down on the concrete bit.
Saw a few of those last night, and it's
Yeah, we did.
all too common.
Satellite Racing entry got taken out. I think a Corinthian Bread King car got taken out. I think one of the I5G guys might have got taken out there. Yeah, that was a lot of carnage on that lap.
19 laps to go. Mark Murphy has an 8-second lead now.
Yeah, that might as well be a million miles at this point. And it's growing, which makes me think that Julian is trying to hit it. Now it's 9 seconds. Let's I want to go back and look at Julian here, and let's look at their last lap speeds. That's going to be key. Oh yeah. 205 versus 220.
What a difference. I mean, 15 miles an hour. There's clearly something with this pack that they're trying to do to hit that number.
Yeah, let's ride on with Julian. Julian's in 6th. He's in 6th. It doesn't even get near the red on the wheel there. Now he's in, but yeah, as soon as he goes the blinky blue, he rolls out of it. Last time by Julian, 214. I think Murph has decided I'm just going to go for it. I have a car here. It's going to help me. I got the pace. Let's just try to do this thing. Maybe get a caution, maybe not. We'll see if we can make it. 16 to go. Murph stopped 30 laps ago. Now Sheridan Wade, who's in 2nd spot now up at this lead group, he is pitted 36 laps ago.
Oh,
we got contact at a wreck, and there's the caution.
Yellow flags out with 15 laps to go. Meadows.
What the heck happened?
And Wade.
Oh, Wade came up in the... Wade came up in the Meadows.
Oh, can you believe it? Wade was in the grass and had to save himself to get back up to the pack and look one more time.
They're both making their first starts here in the VOR series. I like the speed. They just need to work a little bit on car control and etiquette a little bit, but I like what I see here. I hope they come back. It'll help the overall speed of the field, but we're under caution, and I think that might throw. Well, we'll see. We'll see if anyone makes the run to pit road, but this might throw the fuel strategy out the window. Back racing at Indianapolis, 11 to go. Hugo Olsen is your leader. And we got power slide, your top 3 cars. So that's going to make Adam Blocker, who's up in Detroit working on the Yukos Hollinger eSports, or not its eSports team, Yuko Hollinger IndyCar team, very happy. Yukos used to have an eSports team. Actually, Bruno Miranda used to drive for him. And here we come down pit road. So this made the determination that we're not going to make it on fuel. Caution is maybe a good thing for these leaders. And here comes Murphy down to his spot, getting into his stall. Can't afford to roll through. I don't think he does. Down and away. I'm not even sure if he changed tires. Oh, fuel only.
Murph with a fast pit stop there, 4.5 seconds. So he guarantees effectively he was going to come out in front regardless.
Fuel only. So in real IndyCar racing, that would be what we call a timed stop. Here in the sim, he probably said fill to X level and then stop. But in the real IndyCar racing, it would be a time stop. So what they do, the fueler will engage. And then really it's someone as simple as someone with a long pole or stick that taps him on the shoulder to let him know that that's when he's done, disengages, and then the command is given to the driver to go.
And I think the big question becomes, is that the right call? Just getting the fuel in it rather than changing the tires. Murphy confident what we had previously, but everyone's together again. Everyone's going to hit a number regardless. There should be no reason to come back down to pit road. Is this enough for Mark Murphy to make it all the way as the winner?
Caution back in Indianapolis, and I think a couple more of the I-5G guys got taken out. 8 to go under caution to Indianapolis. We're 14 to go under caution here at Fontana. 8 to go at Indianapolis. Your leader coming to take the caution and be picked up by the pace car is Robert Malechka, RM3. Remember, RM3 finished on the podium on the third step last night in our broadcast. And then right with him, former VOR Series champion Alex Van de Sant. He is right there. Hugo Olsen. So let's see what happens here. Oh, it was Chin getting taken out and then taking out one of the I-5G rides. But only 2 cars, but a very hellacious looking wreck. So they're going to be a sprint to the end there. There's going to be a sprint to the end here. Constantini was involved in that one as well.
12 laps to go for us here in the Alzheimer's Association 500K.
Yeah.
It's going to be a dozen. It's going to be a fast run, no doubt, with the way these drivers have been going at it. And now everyone, no reason to go for that fuel conservation. It's all out from here until the time the checkered flag falls. So watch out, because when the pace car comes down and in, it's all or nothing for Mark Murphy and his company.
Just remind people one more time, go to that link in the description, click on to open in another tab, and donate to als.org. Every little bit helps when it comes to research and support of caregivers. Green flag, 13 to go. It is Murph, it is Bleibel, it is Julian, it is Christensen, it is Donskoy. That is your top 5. But back in this battle, because of the caution, Rizza, Strauss got the wave around. He is now up to 7th. And that is your lead pack, or your lead group, who's going to be eligible for the win. The snake down the backstretch. Murph trying to break the draft. 0.2 of a second lead going to 3 and 4. But the draft envelope extends a 1.5 seconds back. So those guys right behind him are still well within contention. Here's Julian going to the bottom. He's in the envelope. He's going to suck right up to the back of Murph. Going to take a look to the outside. And we got a battle back for the lead. Julian Altena, who has not been up at the front all day today, other than probably leading a few laps under overlaps with pit stops, is now fighting for the win here with 11 to go.
Yaroslav Donskoy to the inside of what looked to be a 3-wide move down the back straightaway. Donskoy looking for his first win this season. Opportunity for Mark Murphy and Julian. Mark Murphy down and under. And now 3 wide again. Murphy, bottom side, Julian in the middle, and Yaroslav Donskoy up to the top. 3 wide is only going to persist for a turn and 2. And now you see it's going to be Julian once again holding that middle line with Mark Murphy down to the bottom. The 69, 147 laps in. He's held his own to this point, but it does not look like it's going to be easy. Donskoy top side again, trying to pull that momentum, but John Christensen and Julian are together. They worked together for Daytona. They won that race together, so to speak. It came down to Christensen getting that shove across the line, and now it's going to be time maybe for Julian to get his chance at victory lane.
Now you got to wonder about those older tires. I didn't see who all else, if there's anyone else that didn't change tires. But you got to wonder about those used tires on that bottom line. How long can Murph hold that line without, when he starts to push, having to roll out of it, preventing himself, going up and door checking or pod checking Julian there up top. So, and then all the while, here comes Leibel, here comes Christensen. Got a bit of a VOR Altena Autosport picture going across the start-finish line with an IAR car involved. Now, you've noticed that the logo on the side of the IAR car looks very similar to the VOR logo on the side of those VOR cars. And that caused Julian to kind of change up the VOR logo, make it a little bit more robust looking, so you can definitely tell the difference between those two cars. But back in the day when the VOR logo was a little bit thinner, it was almost impossible to tell the difference between an IAR car and a VOR car. especially at speed.
Rewind again, and you can see now it's going to be Team Bohr getting in the middle of it. And Matthias Strauss, who was a lapper just 10 laps ago, he's in the fight as well. 2x2, multiple times over. Pedro down to the bottom side as well. Maybe now Pedro comes up with Mark Murphy and makes it a tandem down to the bottom groove. 7 laps to go. Matthias Strauss a little bit higher, going to lose some of that pace. And the rookie in Rizza, well, the 6th spot is now his. And there's an opportunity coming up for the new drivers. The veterans, though, have made it up to the top of the board. Team 4, middle and high. Now it's going to be that IR car down to the bottom, and Mark Murphy. Murphy holds his own to the bottom groove. He's got a victory this season, and Julian right now looking to take a piece. 6 laps to go with near contact. Strauss! And he barely keeps it straight.
I don't know if there was contact. I think he just saw an opening and went for it very aggressively. Just in case you're wondering, IAR stands for Indy Alliance Racing. Formerly known as 3 Crowns, which I kind of like their old logo, but IR works. But, of course, VOR stands for Velocity Online Racing. It's kind of the signature team. That's your admin right there. But, some people say that, the admin shouldn't race, but Julian doesn't always win. But Julian sometimes gets his car in a position to win, and there's contact on the backstretch.
Oh, John Christensen!
Christensen! And we're going to go caution, and we're going to have a splash, a dash here at the end. We're green at Indianapolis with 3 to go. Robert Malechka is your leader.
John Christensen trying to win after what we saw at Daytona, but it looks like it won't be another chance at the checkered flag in the final race of the season. The 44 down and out after a very unfortunate turn of events with 5 laps to go. Strauss contact, and he sends him down.
Coming to 2 to go at Indy. It is all power slide up front, along with private label Team Hype. 2 of their cars are now in the mix. We'll keep an eye over there while we watch under caution here. I expect everybody to stay out. I don't think anybody will stop. Everybody should be good to go to the end based off that last caution. And Strauss, after being a lap down now, has put himself in a position to win. He's recovered 2 miles after that last caution. Got the wave around. We're coming to the white flag at Indianapolis. Malechka, Van de Sant, Kraus, Brophy, Olsen. I don't think, unless there's a big wreck that takes out the top 5, I don't think I5G is going to get the win here. Oh, there's a caution. There's a caution. And that's going to be Malechka. He's going to get the win. I think we're going green all the way to the end. Malechka's doing the weave down the backstretch. Lichtenberg's in this thing. I said exactly what was going to happen. Lichtenberg is right here. Here they come down to the win. It's power slide. It's Brophy. Is Brophy going to lose another 500 by the slimmest of margins? I can't tell who won. I think Malechka did. I think he did. They kept the camera on him, and they gave him the graphic. Okay, so there's your winner. There's the sure sign. All right, so are we going to get a natural green-white checker here?
It doesn't look like we will. We'll be extending the race, if anything, because the pace car lights appear to be still on.
No, they're off.
They're off. It's going to be a natural green-white checker. 2 laps to end the season, and the call has been made. Short and yellow flag. Mark Murphy, the man in control. 7 drivers still on the lead lap from Murphy to pole sitter Gary Lovern. 4 miles to end this season. The championship race might be decided, but now it's time to find your final winner. With 2 laps to go, Murphy leads us in. Mark has the advantage through 1 and 2 here. Everyone going to be calm, and it looks like now Julian, the next driver, trying to get in the mix. Julian now going to be the closest of all with about a 10.5 to gain, coming through 3 and 4. Murphy going to lie right back. White flags out in the Alzheimer's Association 500 kilometer, and Julian now has the toe and goes up top. 1 lap to go, and Altena comes up to the high side with the race lead. Matthias Strauss watches back. It's the number 8 machine now in tow, watching the side-by-side fight, and they're beating and banging. Murphy has contact, and so does Altena. They're going to be now seeing Matthias Strauss right in the back bumper, and there goes Strauss. 3 wide through 3, and it's Strauss with momentum. Going to see RZA, the rookie, coming to the backside, but Mark Murphy's got the advantage. Coming out of turn 4, Murphy to the bottom side, Altena in the middle, and the run to the line has the 69 on top. Mark Murphy wins the final race of season 11, 60 laps led out of 157. Murphy leads the most important and final lap of the season. Bruno Miranda's your champion. Murphy's your final winner.
0.020 was the margin there. And I have not seen the margin from Indianapolis yet. I might have to check that out when we are in interviews, but the margin had to be every bit of what it was for the ERL victory by Caleb Bency, and that is 2 races now this season that Brophy has come up just short by. The margin of victory at Indianapolis was closer than that of the ERL. ERL was 0.004. This was 0.003. So congratulations to Murph here, who wins by 0.020, and congratulations to Malechka over in Indianapolis by winning by 0.003. Which we are talking fractions, atomic fractions of seconds.
Checkered flag falls on season 11, and for the final time this season, we've gone racing in VOR and the Indycar series. What a way to end it. Mark Murphy is your winner. Take a look at total results for tonight's race. Murphy will win from Julian Altena in second, and Matthias Strauss in third. Fourth is going to be Raid Riza, and Yaroslav Donskoy going to be fifth, with Pedro Blabel sixth, and Gary Lovern 7th, John Christensen is 8th, and Dan Ench is 9th. Nate Fields rounds out the top 10, and 11th place is then Sheridan Wade. How about that for 12th spot? Cody Meadows, not the race he wanted for certain. He had a lot more speed than what he gets the end result out of, and then from there you're going to see Matthew Weeks in 13th and Gavin Smith 14th. The and final driver in tonight's event, Smith, rounds out the field, Gary, and just like that, season comes to a close here in Fontana. Let's get a word from your race winner, Mark Murphy, winning a thriller here at Fontana's Auto Club Speedway. And take a look back with number 69, Murphy, your final winner of the campaign. Let's get a word right now, as it looks like it's Mark Murphy currently standing by. Let's bring Murph in the broadcast booth here, your final winner of the season by 21 thousandths. Murphy, how you feeling?
Man, I tell you what, it's always a good time to race with guys like Julian and Matthias at the front. And man alive, that final yellow came out, not what I wanted to see. Because I was on old tires.
Yeah,
I did say I took gas only at that last stop.
we saw that.
I could have withstood 1 yellow, but not 2. And I thought, oh no, they're gonna get me. And Julian and I got to wheel banging and having a good old time there at the end. But hey, I'll take it, man.
And we saw the way this race played out. In all honesty, you came alive there in that second half after about lap 100, getting those laps led. It was a hard fight, but you were the driver with the lead for most of it. Everyone trying to get by you and not the opposite. Having the track position is such a big deal. What was it like knowing that you were the driver to beat there with all the defense you were playing, and you didn't have to push necessarily as hard, even though you were the race leader?
This place is equal measures fuel and track position. The way this works out at 500K, you have to save quite a bit of fuel to make it stops or make it on 3 stops. And so the first part of the race is really riding around. First caution came out, fuel's no longer a factor, go to the front. Second caution came out right in the fuel window. Fuel's now a factor again. and then when people started peeling off, I think it was who was it, Meadows or Wade or whoever it was that was up there racing with me. Whenever they peeled off at with like 50 to go, I said, man, ain't nobody can make it. And because we were going to be right on the edge, I think I didn't have two 45 lap stints, and you can do it, but it's awful tough. So he peeled off, and Matthias was a lap down, and I said, man, how about this? Let's just go stand on it. And Julian right at the same time backed off, and I looked up, and I'm like, well, we're catching him 2 seconds a lap, so um, if we're catching him 2 seconds a lap, so even if he makes it, we're still going to beat him. And then comes out, and cautions breed cautions, and here I am on 60 lap old tires at the end. But man, just a lot of fun.
What a way to end this season. Of course, we saw success out of this IR car, especially in the second half of the campaign. And Mark, a lot of momentum coming into our next season, which starts in 2 weeks' time. Fontana is a track we're going to see a very similar circuit in Michigan next season. Homestead, though, that's where we begin our 12th season here in 4. Maybe an opportunity to cash in on a victory early in that campaign. What's it like knowing how it was learning here in season 11 and taking that info to what's next?
I mean, this is just a great series all the way around. It's mostly ovals, but then you've got a lot of road courses, so you have to be able to excel in both disciplines. There's a lot of camaraderie in a paddock. Great friends with Jules and Matthias and John and Dan and a lot of these guys that run this. Matthias weeks every week. It's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun racing here. I've won this. I think this is the second or third one of these California 500s I've won, so maybe a little bit of a California savant. But I like Michigan too. Got some big wins there, and anytime I see these 2 big 2-mile ovals on the schedule, my eyes light up a little bit because we're always fast there. And I know Jesper and Seb and the boys are all at Indianapolis. Good luck to them. I hope they're doing good in their race. They actually went up.
The split just ended about the same time you guys came to the checkered flag they did. And it was just as close as it was here for you top 3 as for their top 3. I'm not sure where everyone finished, but Robert Malechka won the race.
I won there. That guy's so good. That guy's so good. But I know Jesper and Seb and Chris and them guys were running that today. So I hope they run good and had a good time. And we ran good and waved the flag here. And I guess I'll go grab a bite to eat and a shower and join Gary in the booth.
Yeah, in about an hour. We'll see you. Congrats, man.
Heck yeah! Thanks to all the boys at IR. I hope you're having a good time in Indianapolis. I'd like to thank Black Magic Designs, Raceverse, Admin Box. Thank you to Gary and David for doing this. Heck of a good time. Heck of a good show. We'll watch it back later. But we do appreciate you, and bring on next season. I'm stoked for it.
Mark Murphy on the way after his victory and just 21 thousandths of a second behind. How about that for Julian? Let's bring in your second place finisher here, standing by with Gary.
Julian just missed her, but solidified P2 in the standings. And I got that team championship also for Altena Autosport. Talk about your race, a little wheel bang in there at the end, little love taps. But talk about it. Did you have fun out there, or was it a little bit more work than you thought it would be?
No, it was a good race, honestly. Like nothing to really complain about. I do think I lost the race with that little wheel bang there at the end, but that's just the way it goes. And I know Mark and I can do that. I've told you guys before. Like Mark and I know how to race each other, and we know the limits of what we can get away with. And I think that was right on the edge. But that was good out racing. Nothing to really complain about. Just sucks that I got on the wrong end of the stick there, but that's racing, so it's all good. Just want to thank everybody for a great season, and yeah, I don't really have anything else to say other than thanks to Dan Ench with ALZ.org for sponsoring the race. I got to run in a couple minutes to get a train, so that's why I'm hurrying this up. But yeah, just also racing all around. A couple of yellows caused by the new guys, but they've all been approved. I think they've got plenty of potential to excel in this league, so they've all been approved for next season. Excited to get going on Raceverse. David, thanks a lot for doing this, stepping in last minute. I remember in January we talked from all my nights in Europe here to get that sorted, to get you on here. So I really appreciate everything you've done for us. And I'm excited to work with you in the future as well, with Gary and Race First and those guys over there with you involved, hopefully as well. But yeah, just thanks to everybody for a great season. I want to say hi to my girlfriend. I'm going to see you tonight. So yeah, I love you. I'll see you in a bit. And thanks everybody. And Gary again, looking forward to work with you next season as well.
You got it. Go get your train, man.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. We won't hold him up. Train and girlfriend are important things. But we'll bring up Strauss. Go right ahead, Dave.
Well,
bring
here
him
comes
up.
Matthias Strauss, our third place finisher, rounding out the podium today, and as low as 12th is a lap machine for a few of those final laps there, but you came back up inside the podium, Matthias. How are you feeling?
I'm actually super happy with that podium. I mean, I did one hiccup, which was on the restart with like 80 to go or something. So I had to go down and swap the front wing for a new one, and then it was just no holding back. And yeah, I can't believe I got third in the end there.
Making that very late race charge. We saw you fighting up there, trying to get that lead lap status back naturally with the leaders again. We didn't see too many cautions from that lap 50 portion of that very end state of the race. What was it like knowing if there was any caution, that would be about your only chance to go at it and try to fight for the win? It was high stakes.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said to Mark in VC, the only thing that can save me is a yellow. And sometimes it comes and sometimes it doesn't. So for this time, I got lucky, and I was even more lucky to be ahead of Murphy when we were swap drafting when the yellow comes. So I didn't have to get the lucky dog. So I was able to just go around and catch the tail end of the pack. And then it was just a VOR wall in front of me. It was insane. It's trying to find a gap and trying to be predictable with everyone. So, and I'm super sorry to John Christensen. I tried to predict that he was trying to make the free wide for the lead, but he lifted, and I was way too close to him, and I accidentally hit him in the rear and ended his race. So I'm super sorry for him, and yeah, it's not the way I want to have a podium, but considering where I was, I'm taking it.
Regardless, a podium finish from all the trials and tribulations, and it's preparation for what is next in Season 12. It's an opportunity, a big opportunity at that, to keep up with. We've seen some pretty good runs out of this A crew as of late, and a podium at this circuit, knowing the stakes, a great way to end the season. How excited are you for what's next?
I mean, I'm super excited. I'm starting a new chapter with another team, so I will we'll probably get a new number, and a new color scheme. So it's going to be super interesting and exciting.
Well, it's been great to have you here in the number 8 team all throughout the season, succeeding and finishing this one off with a podium. If you have any final shout-outs to make sure to let us know.
I mean, I want to say thank you to especially Julian, who's organizing this league and making all this time suffer with setup building and the time he puts in behind it. Even though I can be a bit mad in the Discord, but that's how it goes. So thank you a lot, Julian.
That being said, Matthias Strauss, third on the day, finishing it off with their final podium of the season. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
One final driver we'd like to speak to here, Gary, and that's the number 52 of Dan Ench, joining us after the end of the Alzheimer's Association 500K here. And what a way to end the season here, knowing we're racing for a cause here in VOR, and overall coming through top 10 finish on the day as well. How you feeling?
Oh, pretty good until me and the fourth turn wall had a little meeting of the minds, and wouldn't you know, I lost. But yeah, I wanted to thank a couple of people. Of course, I want to thank Julian for putting on this league. The VOR is a lot of fun, and it's fun being a part of the VOR team too. So I wanted to thank him. I want to thank 4D Racewear for hosting all year long for us. And of course, I want to thank als.org for letting me slap their logo on the side of my car and go racing for them. It means a lot to me, as you know. And I can't wait to get to Indy next year. We're gonna be hosting the race at Indianapolis for our season next time. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Season 12, what everyone's going to be talking about just up next. And you mentioned hosting another race with the Brickyard coming up. So hosting 2 races here for als.org in the season. And we'd like to leave off with the most important message of the day, a final message perhaps in regards to the Alzheimer's Association. With what's coming up next in Indianapolis, is there any way to keep up as the season progresses before we, of course, head on to the big date?
Well, to keep up with what?
Well, in regards to Alzheimer's Association.
Oh, yeah. All you got to do is go to als.org. That's ALZ.org. That's the home of the Alzheimer's Association. If you don't have a computer, just dial 1-800-272-3900. And of course, we appreciate any donations you care to make. If you just need information, caregivers make more use of this site than anybody because it helps you deal with things. I mean, 30% of the caregivers themselves are over 60 years of age, and they find themselves being a sandwich caregiver. What that is you not only are taking care of your kids, but you're also taking care of your elders too. And boy, I can tell you from experience that it's not an easy thing to do. So we want to give a shout out. These people do care about you, caregivers, and we want to invite you to get over there. You can also go to als.org to help with early recognition of your loved ones, to tell that they have a little bit of a problem coming up. Little things like notes all over the house, or a quicker temper than you're used to hearing, or little pauses in speech and certain words forgotten that they know, and forgotten names, and changing stories, and the whole 9 yards. And they'll give you a whole list of things you can study on and try to pick up on things before they actually happen, the latest in treatments, and everything else you can do to help your loved one. And that's very, very important. We hope you'll get involved.
Once again, Dan Enge helping us out here and putting together the Alzheimer's Association 500K. If you have a final shout-outs to make after this season, make sure to let us know right now.
Well, and as I said, everybody in VOR, 4D Racewear, als.org, I want to thank you guys for coming out and giving us some good coverage. We do appreciate it. And all my friends and family who tune in and watch these events, I appreciate that too. So let's go do it again next season.
Just like that, Dan Enge finishing off the season here with a top 10 performance. We thank you for your time, and thank you once again for helping us out here with als.org.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Dan Enge on the move, and just like that, we've spoken to our podium and our race sponsor for tonight's event, Gary, and we've got ourselves another race coming up very soon. But to end this season, any final thoughts? Our champion, Bruno Miranda, final winner, Mark Murphy. That concludes a season here, season 11, and we're just 2 weeks away from moving on to our 12th campaign, season 12 indeed.
Yeah, I am happy to see VOR lasting into season 11 and going into season 12. More importantly, the coverage by you has been absolutely great, and for someone that didn't have to bring me into the booth for this season. I know it's a little disruptive maybe to your style at start. I really appreciate working with you, and that whole relationship. If we never got a chance to work together, then we're not going to have that new overlay. We're not going to have some other things that are happening at race first, not without getting to meet with you and getting to work with you first. So foremost, thank you for your coverage. It has been fantastic. It's probably some of the best coverage that I've seen anyone broadcast for this league in its 11 season history. So thank you. I want to congratulate the champion, Bruno, long time in the series and definitely deserves it. The team champions as well, and that means a lot to that squad to continue to that tradition of getting team championships here. I wish today's race was a little bit healthier with more people in it, but this has to do that's not necessarily Julian's fault. That has a lot to do with iRacing deciding to wait the last minute to give us time frames for the Indy 500 and gave us some real crap times. And unfortunately, it put a race right on top of this one. But all things considered, I had a great time calling it with you, watching the action on this track, and then over in another window, seeing what's going on in Indianapolis. And that's where I need to head next on the virtual jet, as we got to jet back to Indianapolis, get ready for the fixed race coming up right here at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So 50 minutes from now, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, over on Race First. That's RACEVERSE. That's our channel on YouTube. Make sure to go over there, subscribe. And then you'll see that it's going to be one of our upcoming events. The next one in line is going to be the fixed Indy 500. The theme of it's back home again in Indiana. Of course, you got to be a Hoosier to understand that one. That means an awful lot to have this series back alive on iRacing after being off for more than 700 days. So join us over there next. But again, great season for VOR. Thank you very much. Your coverage has been excellent. Thank you for having me in the booth with you. I'm sure we're going to continue this relationship going forward. And, buddy, take her on out of here. You earned this closing outro as just doing stellar coverage all season long.
It's time, unfortunately, for the time being anyway, to end coverage here of VOR on FTN. Now, this entire commentary crew and production crew will be moving forward to Race First for open wheel content, and the stock car lineup will more or less stay the same. However, be sure to stay tuned on FTN. A lot of these drivers, we're hoping to have them become familiar faces, and you might see more of drivers like Julian, Matthew Weeks, and the whole cast of characters who have driven their tails off all season long. We'd like to thank Bruno Miranda and the championship fighters for their incredible season. They put together here race winners from the very beginning down to the end here in Fontana, and every driver who's come across along the way from every lot of iRacing life to put forward such incredible performances here in the IR-18 series. We'll be next back tomorrow night with the Schumacher Racing League. They're going to have a thriller, and it's going to be some stock car action. And Gary, we thank you for coming aboard here in FTM and giving us some immense help in getting our open wheel production team better than ever it has been before. Seeing it happen more and more, bringing those advancements to Race First and other crews all across iRacing. And I'm personally excited for whatever's left next on the table. I think every viewer here on the channel should be as well. So for the time being, it's unfortunate to say goodbye, but for now, we will. Season 12 starting in 2 weeks, and full-time coverage will be on Race First. We thank you all for watching this entire season. I've been David Kreutz, joined alongside Gary Godso, and from the entire FTN crew, we say goodnight from Fontana. Thank you for watching exclusive coverage of the Velocity Online Racing IndyCar Series.